I don't know about you, but the older I get, the less I remember. True? You have that problem? I mean, I've gotten to the point now, sometimes I go into a room and I forget why I went there. I mean, it's like, what did I come here for? You ever had that problem? Is it just me? I didn't know, maybe I have something I need to get checked out by the doctor. But really, I mean, my memory just seems to be going, but it's not, I've always had a problem with like names. Names are, I'm the worst for names. I'm just like terrible. And I always apologize, and I just remembering someone's name has never been my forte, even though I know they're important. But I'm not as bad as some folks, and I've gotten better. I remember there was a story of this guy named John, and John had a terrible memory problem. And one day he walked up and he saw his friend Bill, and he goes, "Bill," he said, "how you doing? You remember I used to have that memory problem?" He goes, yeah, I remember. He said, well, I went to a seminar, and they take care of that, and I can remember stuff now. He said, well, that's fantastic. He said, well, what was the name of the seminar? He said, let me ask my wife. She's right over here. I said, and he turned to his wife, and he goes, "Bill, what's the name of that flower, the long stem and the thorns and the red bloom?" He goes, "A rose?" "Thank you. Rose. What was the name of that seminar?" Now, fortunately, my memory's not that bad. I still remember Pam's name, which is good. And that one name you don't want to forget is the name of your spouse. Let me just tell you, that's not going to... If I woke up in the morning and said, "Hey, Ann," it's probably not going to go well for me. But you don't want to forget, memories are a good thing, right? Having a memory is a good thing. It's a gift from God, isn't it? Truly being able to remember is a gift from God. And the memories that God gives us are a lot of times gifts. And, memories allow us to do a lot of things. They allow us to go back in time, don't they? I mean, you can close your eyes and you can picture yourself. I can picture myself being on a lake and skipping a rock across the water, or playing with my friends in the neighborhood till the sun went down. Or you can remember your first date, or your first kiss, or any of those things, your wedding day. Those things that happened a long time ago, but just by kind of closing your eyes and focus, and your memory will take you back there, won't it? It'll let you remember things from the past, which is a good thing, isn't it? Isn't it? It's good that we can remember. It truly is. But all memories aren't good memories, are they? No, of course not. Some memories make you happy, but some memories make you cry. Right? Some memories bring a tear to your eye. Today is a special weekend, isn't it? It's Memorial Day weekend, it's a weekend in which we're called to what? Remember, right? We're called to use those memories. And we're supposed to remember some folks. We're supposed to remember those folks that went off to war to serve their country, or who served their country here locally, and paid that ultimate price for us. They gave their life for us. John 15:13 tells us that no greater gift has a man than to lay down his life for a friend, right? There's no greater gift that you can give somebody than to give your life for someone else. And these people chose to do that. To go to war, to fight for us on our behalf. Or you say, well, I wasn't there during the Revolutionary War. No, you weren't. I wasn't there during the Civil War. No, you weren't. And wars come and go, don't they? But still, they fought for this country, a country in which you live. And by being born into this country, whether you're rich or you're poor, you won the lottery. I still say it's the greatest country in the world. So by God placing you here, He's already blessed you. You may not have everything you want, but you're far better off than most people in the world. Truly we are, even our poor people. Not that that's a good place to be, or not that we shouldn't strive to help it, but are far better off when you go to another country such as Haiti, or you go to countries where they live in metal shacks put together, or they live in, conditions that our dogs live in better conditions in some places. We're winners for living in this country. And they fought for this country. And there have been a lot of wars, haven't there? There have been a lot of wars since this country began. And we've lost a lot of folks. A lot of folks that put their life on the line. A lot of folks went off to war and didn't come back. You know, if we look at this, just the sheer numbers of it, if you look at like the Revolutionary War, and I'm just kind of rounding these off, 25,000 people died in the Revolutionary War. Civil War, 498,000 people. World War I, almost 117,000. World War II, 407,000 people. The Korean War, 54,000. Vietnam War, 58,000. The first Gulf War, 293. Iraq, 812. Now those numbers may have been updated because those are ongoing. There's some ongoing wars, and those are just some figures that are out there. But overall, if you add those up, it's over 1.1 million people have died on behalf of this country in a war somewhere. That's a lot of folks, isn't it? That's a lot of folks who didn't come home. That's a lot of sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, moms and dads, who went off to war and didn't come back and paid the ultimate sacrifice for us. And that's what we're called to remember. It's more than just an extra day off. And we need to keep that in mind, don't we? It's more than just a barbecue, or the first day of the pool being open, or our first trip to the beach, or summer's begun because school's out. It's a lot more than that. It's a day that during this weekend we're called to remember the sacrifice of those who went to war and did not come home. Those folks that were willing to pay a price for you. And it reminds us that freedom isn't what? Free. It's not. It costs somebody something, even if it didn't cost you anything. So I encourage you, as you're eating your ribs, as you're chewing on that fried chicken leg, whatever it is you're going to eat this weekend, or whatever you're going to spend time, because there's nothing wrong with that, and celebrating what these folks have done for us. Take time to remember. Take time to look back and remember those who didn't come home. That's what we're called to do, isn't it? As much as this is Memorial Day and a time to remember, I don't want to solely just talk about those folks. And as important as they are, and I'm not trying to do away with what they've done, because I certainly do appreciate it. And if anybody's ever to be appreciated, it's those people who've given that ultimate life, who've given that gift that was given to them by God, and given it back on our behalf. And I truly want to honor them and remember them. But I want to talk about a different soldier today. Soldier that left his home, went to a foreign land, entered a battlefield that was filled with evil men, backed by the Prince of Darkness. Man who fought the battles on our behalf and paid the ultimate price for you. Well, not just for you. Not just for this country. But for all humanity. You see, because John 3:16 tells us that for God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. The person I'm speaking of is Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. You see, He left His home, like most soldiers do. Very seldom do we fight in our own backyard. Right? It's always better if you can fight on somebody else's soil than your soil. But He left His home and He came down to earth to face an adversary, to face a world filled with evil men. Right? He left the comforts of heaven It would have been a lot easier for him to stay there, to come live in a human body. Started off in a feeding trough. That can't be comfortable. I've never tried to lay in one, but I would imagine it's not the most comfortable place, and I'm sure it's not what he had experienced in heaven. Put on his camouflage or his human suit. He came down and lived among us. Truth be told, until he started working his miracles and preaching the good news of the gospel, he probably would have blended in with everybody else, wouldn't he? That's good camouflage, isn't it? That's what good camouflage does. You blend into the background, right? And so he blended in. It was when he started performing those miracles that he moved to the front line. And people started to notice there's something different about this man. That he was more than just a man. Started to recognize that maybe he's the Messiah. Maybe he's the one. Maybe he's the one that has been called to save us. And in fact, he was. And he would ultimately obtain victory in the resurrection, wouldn't he? But to get there, he had to go through the cross. Sometimes the battles are tough. Sometimes they're costly, and sometimes they're very painful. You ever been through a painful battle? They don't always take place on the battlefield. Sometimes they take place in real life. Battles hurt. They're not comfortable, are they? They're not meant to be. It would be a conflict then. It could be a recliner. It's comfortable. But Christ came down, he fought that battle on our behalf. So that what? That we could spend eternity with our God, with our Creator. That we could be reconnected to the Creator. It was a battle that only he could fight. And though I'm sure the adversary thought he was winning when Jesus was nailed to the cross, he had to realize that he'd been defeated when on the third day the tomb was empty. Amen? Amen. Amen. As we remember Christ as our warrior who went to battle on our behalf, we need to recognize that he did it as a choice. He chose to go to that cross. Didn't have to. Could have stopped it at any time. But he did. Why do you think that is? I mean, if that had been me, I'd be like, whoa, it's a lot of pain. Right? Are these folks really worth it? Are you sure? Want to reconnect with these people? He thought you were worth it. You know, some people treat us like that penny. We look at each other like we're the pennies. We don't see the value in each other. We don't see the value in human life. But God does. God sees that value. And he deems you worthy of that sacrifice of his Son, Jesus Christ. And we need to remember Christ as well. You see, because while we remember the soldiers on Memorial Day, Christ needs to be celebrated each and every day. We need to remember him every day when we get up. Every day should be Memorial Day for Christians. Why should we remember him every day? Why is that? Because if we don't, he died for us, but he also lived for us, didn't he? And he came and showed us how to live. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he set some examples for us. He showed us how to embrace what? Those on the outside. We talked about that, right, last week. Show us how to be kind and compassionate, to show love to people. And see, if we remember that Christ every day, it will help us on our journey. That we can show people that same kindness. Wouldn't that be a great thing? And that if every day when we woke up, we remember Christ, and we went out to the world and we reflected His life as it was shown to us. That we embrace those on the outside, that we love those that are hard to love, that we show kindness to our fellow man. Now I know what you're saying, you say, preacher, wait a minute, that's hard stuff. Yep, it is. It's not easy. I agree. I agree with you 100%. There are people out there who will lie and they'll cheat, right? And they're mean and they're hateful, right? Now I got your attention. I see some heads nodding. Yeah, preacher, now I'm with you. Yep. I know them folks. Some of you probably, I live with them folks. but yeah, they're out there. Right? And if they weren't out there, there wouldn't be so much work to be done, would there? But as it is, they are out there. And you're the solution. You see, you're the solution to their problem. See, because maybe nobody's ever shown them kindness, and maybe nobody's ever shown them love or patience. I work in ISD, and there's some kids in there that will work your patience like nobody's business. I mean, literally, anyway. They will work your patience, trust me. And I have to pray. I pray every morning when I go to work, give me the patience. Give me the patience I need today to make a difference. That's a prayer I pray every day when I go to work. Because I know without patience, I'm not going to be able to make a difference in those kids' lives. I'm not going to be able to touch them in a positive way. I have to pray that for adults too sometimes. I know some adults that I'm going to encounter. I'm like, Lord, give me patience. Let me get through this. Let me say the right words. Let them be kind words, Lord. Let them be kind. Let them be loving words. And let them be shining into their light. Let me be a reflection. It may not be what I go into it thinking, but I know that with God's help I can get through it, right? You can too. But we got to be mindful. We got to be mindful of that Christ that lived among us, not just the Christ that died for us. Those soldiers who didn't come home, if all we remember is that they died, we greatly discounted their life. Because they lived before they went to war. And their life meant something. It meant something to their mother and their father and their brother and their sister, their sons and their daughters. And to just say they died is to not do them service. You see, they lived as well as did Christ. So we can't just say Christ died for us, He lived for us as well. And we need to remember that. We always need to remember that. There was a story Colin Powell told in one of his books. He was talking about Sam Donaldson, I think, was doing the interview. And he was talking to this young private right before the first Iraq War. And he said, and the guy, Donaldson, asked the private, said, how do you think the battle's going to go? He said, I'll be okay. We'll be okay. That's my family over there. And he motioned to his fellow soldiers. And the soldier said, tell him again. I don't think he heard you. He said, we'll be okay. You see, that's my family over there. You see, that's a soldier's mentality. Those of you who've been in the service, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The people you serve with are your family. That's truly how you think of them. And you'll truly die for them in a heartbeat. Just as though they were your brother or your sister. And they'll die for you. They don't think about it. They don't hesitate. You hear stories of people jumping on grenades and you're like, who would do that? That's so stupid, No. That's love. You see, because families love each other, don't they? You know, think how powerful we could be as a church, as a people, as Christians, as followers, if we loved each other like that. If I said, that's my brother Bill right there, I'd jump on a grenade for him in a heartbeat. My brother Jimmy, my brother Ronnie, his Uncle Charles. Sorry, Charles, goodness. But what if we thought of each other like that? What if church operated like that? Whatever it takes for each of you. Not about me first, about us. And what if we live that out in the world? You know what people would say? They say, well, what's going on there? That's different. I want some of that. I don't know what's going on there, but that light's shining. And I need some light in my life. You see, if we lived out what Christ showed us, we change the world, folks. We would change the world. And isn't that what those soldiers meant to do when they went off to war? Change the world. To keep it safe. To do away with the threat. To protect those who are in harm's way. You're a soldier too. You're a soldier in the Lord's army. But we're called to a different kind of battle. A spiritual battle. A battle in which your weapons are love and kindness and compassion. So you don't have anything with any more power than that? Yeah, you got the Holy Spirit. God on your side. That's all you need. With that, you can overcome everything. You say, well, no, I won't overcome a gun. I'm sure it will. Because can you really be killed? No. You can just be transformed to your heavenly body. That's okay. Things are good on that side. As a matter of fact, I would dare say things are better on that side than they are on this side. That's what I call heaven. Right? You see, we're in God's army. And we got work to do. We're called to make a difference. We're called to live our life differently. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt wrote something, I'm going to end with this. Because I want you to think about it. I want you to think about these words. It says, it's a little prayer. It says, Dear Lord, lest I continue my complacent way. Help me to remember that somewhere, somehow out there, a man died for me today. As long as there be war, I then must ask and answer, am I worth dying for? Christ thought you were. Christ thought you were worth dying for. Can we live a life that would honor Him? Can we live a life that would bring glory to Him? By being a reflection of the love that He's already shown into our life? The kindness that He's already displayed to us? His amazing grace that He's already given us? The forgiveness that He gave us? Can we give that to others? Can we live a life worth living? Can we live a life of value? Sure we can. Yes, we can. Certainly we can. And all God's people said, Amen. Amen.